Thank you for joining us this lovely morning, and I'm sure we have very powerful speakers this morning. We are here again, let me remind you, for the second multidisciplinary conference organized by Vodafone ATH Fiji Foundation. And the theme for today's conference is Break the Barrier, Speak the Truth. We'll unpack this theme throughout the day, and we hope that you'll be here throughout the day, joining us and enjoying the discussion that we have. Also joining in our first plenary will be Mr. Shailendra Prasad. He's the head of e-commerce and corporate affairs. Again, a very familiar face. You often see him on TV, so I'm sure he'll list introduction. Please join me in welcoming our chief guest for today, Ms. Deborah Weiss, to deliver her welcome address. Madam.
Thank you for having me today at the second MSAFE Multidisciplinary Conference. Some of the topics that you'll be talking about today are very close to my heart, particularly as a mother of two young men. Raising children in today's environment can be very challenging. Their access to information, their use of the tools such as these means that more exposed to things that we as children were never exposed to. In my group of friends, most of my friends are not technology savvy. You know, they haven't worked in IT. And they would come to me for advice on how to help their children be safe online. And working with my sons, I spent a lot of time on making sure that they were safe as well, talking to their friends and often counselling their friends on how not to be aggressive, how not to use social media to hurt other people. And I was very proud when my eldest son, in his second last year of high school, was given a class of younger students in their first year at high school to mentor. And he identified some bullying that was happening amongst their group on Facebook, and he pulled the young men aside and spoke to them about the risks of bullying and that they should stop doing it and how that it impacted people. And he spoke from his heart and really educated those young men on the importance of not bullying others. The message that he conveyed, that I conveyed to him, was that what would you say to someone face to face? And use social media in that same way. I'm going to start with some statistics from a UNICEF and UN Special Representative of the Secretary General on Violence Against Children report that was released earlier this month. And it says that 1 in 3 young people in the 30 countries that they surveyed have been a victim of online bullying. And 1 in 5 young people reported skipping school because of the impact of cyberbullying and violence. Nearly half of young people, 47%, received intimidating, threatening, or nasty messages online. Young people in our world use social media for longer periods than any other generation. It is their primary source of information and often their primary source of engagement with their peers. And young people underage, so the under 13s, are also using social media now, whereas in the past we generally saw that they didn't. And there is a strong connection between the use of social media for long periods and mental illness in young people. And it's very important that we work with our young people, that we have organisations and meetings like this that can bring together multidisciplinary teams to provide advice and guidance to the parents, like my friends, who are not used to these devices, who don't understand the level of access that their children can gain with these devices. They don't know how to advise them. They don't know how to guide them. And these organisations and the work that you do is very, very important, providing that advice. We see that the social media platforms that involve images, like Instagram, the bullying levels on those is far greater than ones like YouTube, for example, where people are sharing maybe music or information or thoughts. Facebook is also, quite high in the level of bullying for organisations. There are also other hidden dangers in social media. hidden dangers of people that can groom young people and perhaps lead to perpetration of sexual offences. That people use these platforms for selling drugs, for causing disruption, for polluting young minds with ideologies that are not perhaps faith-based or important ideologies for our society. So those hidden dangers are also something that we need to work on. And really to end with a more positive approach, and this also comes from my experience from raising two young men, in that these platforms can be used for sharing as well. Sharing and positive messages. If I wanted to tell my sons something important, something that I wanted them to remember, I didn't speak to them because they didn't listen to me. I messaged them. And they would read those messages and remember that we were going to Grandma's for her 80th birthday on Sunday and not to plan something. So we can use these tools as community organisations in the policing area to help the young people and communicate with them, to give them an opportunity to communicate in a way that they feel is less risky than a face-to-face conversation. They are going through changes in their life, and often those face-to-face conversations can be uncomfortable. So break the barrier, speak the truth is the theme for this conference. And using social media for good is just as effective as other campaigns. Give them an opportunity, and particularly with these tools that were launched in February this year, M-Safe and M-Speak Up, they can talk to us, to the officials, to the police, to their parents, in a way that they feel safe doing. So it's really important that we think of ways to allow them to tell us when they've been approached by a drug dealer, to tell us when they've been bullied, to really use the tools for the benefit rather than just for the negative. I'd like to thank Vodafone, ATH Fiji Foundation for supporting this good cause, and thank you again for allowing me to come and give the welcome address today. Thank you.
I'd like to now invite Chairman of Vodafone ATH Fiji Foundation, Mr. Lan Lee, to deliver his address. Chairman has been associated with the foundation for a long time, and he's been there during our both good and bad times, and has been supporting us very closely in mooting most of the Vodafone ATH Foundation programs. So, Chairman, it's good to see you again.
Thank you, Neil. It's nice to be here. You notice I've got a few gray hairs and my leg limps a bit, but I'm still good at the head, and I'm glad to be here to say something at the beginning of the second multidisciplinary seminar. I was here for the first one. We held it up at what I call it the old Derek Tech, where I first learned bookkeeping. It's the Fiji National University. The hall wasn't as big as this. And we had a very good day there. I want to share it with you because when I went there, I didn't know what to expect. It was the first multidisciplinary seminar. Before we used to have it subject by subject, we have compartmentalized it. And now we're introducing an interconnectedness across discipline, which was the first attempt. Didn't know what to expect, but I want to share with you that when I left that day, I had a good feeling. I had a good feeling that, and I see my good friend, the doctor, he had a lot of statistics. I remember that when he spoke, it had a lot of guts, a lot more than what I have to say. But my job is to set the framework, to open the conference, and to encourage you to use the facility, the platform that we provide, to come up with some sort of line of thought or line of advocacy or line of positive feeling, vibe, to solve something that is a pressing problem in the community at any one time. At that time, there was a very big issue of drug abuse, and young suicide rates that were causing a lot of concern. I remember that. So Deborah has just talked about bullying, which is a very big issue right now. Maybe you could share a lot of ideas from your organization, how that goes. Last Saturday, I was down at my park. We said something about sustainability. The United Nations have this sustainable goal, and so there was a lot of issue on climate. We had the chief speaker there talk about climate, and my little catchphrase was sustainability. We want to make sure that the community doesn't drift into poverty. It's one of my passion to see the community don't slide backwards through their bad choices of everyday life. What little funds they have should not be wasted addressing issues which is caused by bad choices of drug abuse or fighting and getting in trouble with the police and running to court. Spend a lot of money on the lawyers, defenses, and all that. Money could that be well spent better in other ways if the choices were not made that way. So that my beef is that we are very interested in trying to not slide to poverty. And so a lot of our projects on the positive side is to help communities and societies to grow food, to raise chickens, to see whether the bees will make some honey so we can sell it. In other words, get revenue, or the ladies do the sewing, get revenue in a small group and help themselves. So don't get into poverty, and then from there you can grow up. And there's a lot of movement that way in terms of what you can do. So we do a lot of things through a multiple platform, and we have a lot of partners. So we have a lot of irons in the fire, so to speak. And one of the advantages of using the Vodafone ATH Foundation network is our networking partnership. And on top of that is our communication platform. And that's how we actually got into this area of foundation work, is the strength of our communication platform. We are a communication company, and this is something that we want to give back to our community from where we ran our business. And so this has now developed into a passion, and we have found a cause. In other words, we actually developed this into a bigger, wider kind of network. And through our SMS messaging system, which gives you immediacy, I know it's a bit old hat now talking about SMS, but I just read our chief executive, Pradeep Lal, who said that sometimes if you will put things on very fast and more sexy type of framework like Facebook and all that, the persons receiving it may not access it until later. But an SMS is immediate, it's simple, and it's short, it's second generation, but still very useful for immediacy. And on last Saturday, I was down at my park. Then there were a couple of signs that sort of took me back to my childhood. I'm an old man now. I can still remember the day, this month, September the 14th, 1953, I was in class 7. The classroom ceiling shook. The teacher did not know. He looked up the ceiling. He did not know what was happening. He ran out of the classroom, and the children saw the teacher. Did not know what to do either. The guy at the back, I still remember his name, Polo Iratora. He jumped out of the window. This was St. Columbus in Marisova Street. So all our students ran out. When we were down at out of the ground, the class next door, which is class 8 under Brother Bertrand, they were all under their desk. The message I'm trying to say is there was an earthquake that nobody knew how to react. They didn't have any information. They don't know what to expect. We didn't have any trained teachers to know how to protect the children under their care. We had one New Zealand brother who had some experience with Napier earthquake. He told the kids to go underneath the desk. The desk is hard. It's got wood. If the rumble brings down the building, the kids would be safe under the desk. Our class ran out. We did not know. We didn't know what to do. We had no leader. We had no information. And then later on, the tsunami came. Neither did anybody in Suva know what it was. They looked out. They saw something coming. They didn't know what it was. They ran for their lives. My brother, Vincent, who was with my mother, we had a farm near the China Club. They ran up towards the shop area to save themselves. Right down Turner's Bridge, which is where they're going to rebuild that bridge, I think 1 to 3 children died from the waves. They were fatalities. They were fatalities. And after that, you probably heard the rest of the story. Fishes were down the streets in Albert Park. You probably heard that. A taxi driver took me up the other day and he said, I was born after that, but all I heard was the fish on the road. So what I'm trying to say here is that they were talking about climate change. Down at my park, we had that sustainable goal thing. My message was sustainability, stay out of poverty, don't make bad choices, and that will save you some money. Then we go on to another theme that was prevalent or stood out for me on the first multiple disciplinary seminar we had was Lifeline's work, that is suicide rates, as I said earlier. That was a big thing, so maybe we could develop from further that we got a World of Difference candidate pushing that very strongly. There were some issues that raised on the first seminar. Somebody said he disappeared, he wasn't around, and he explained that no, he's at the back of the phone line and he was still there, so it came out in the seminar. So what I'm trying to say is the seminar helped get everybody up to date and don't have a wrong impression of what each institution may be doing. So please, what we're doing today, I know the hall is a bit big here for the seminar, but our reach is very big. It's being photographed and it's live. And whatever you say, whatever you do, whatever solutions you come up, will be widespread and spread around. This building was I'm pleased to be here, really to say that I saw it. I was part of the planning process of this building, but I haven't been in, so maybe I just say it's very nice. It's a bit big for what we're doing today, but it was introduced during that time when ICT was at a certain stage. But ICT has moved on as well, but this is a building. So ICT is software. It's completely different. One's hard, one's soft. Think. IBM had the word think. So we're now on AI now, artificial intelligence. A lot of buzzwords, a lot of things. So we went through sustainability, poverty, stay out of poverty, lifeline. Please speak out, ring, reach out. If you have a problem, don't bottle it up. Today's seminar has the words speak out, break out, break out, speak out. So you first start off solving your problem, don't bottle it up, talk about it. We have a platform to help you that. M Speak Up, M Safe, all these are tools that we provided to help. Okay, so I have a little bit of passion. Now all the rest affects so many things that are in the thing, so I'll push my little plug. What about abuse of the elders? It's very topical in Australia right now. Don't forget about it. I'm an old man. It resonates with me. It's an issue that can be forgotten, but in Australia right now, there's a Royal Commission on Abuse of Elders, and I'll have a little bit of plug. There have been, unfortunately in the world, drive for efficiency have driven to what was during the 80s move towards privatization and outsourcing into institutions that are driven and operated on a profit motive. So they have a different goal. So I will say that sometimes the old way of having institutions who are run on faith value or vocation, that's the word I'm looking for, people who are vocationally orientated towards doing things, not necessarily part of an organization trying to run it as efficiently as possible, as cheap as possible, so that they end up with a profit for the shareholders. Maybe if you think, you guys think, come out with a suggestion that maybe we've gone too far the other way, and maybe we should bring back the people with vocation, the people with a value for what they believe in, and profit may not be the ultimate motive. It could still be there in a more moderated form. I'll leave you with that as the bottom line of what I have to say this morning. I wish you all a very good conference today, and I'll stop there, but I'll just end up by saying what ATH Fiji Foundation does. It provides you with a platform, it provides you with a connection, it provides you with a leverage, so whatever issues you have, you can come with us and we will spread it with you so that your voice becomes bigger. Thank you for listening to me today, and I'm pleased to declare the second one open in that sense. Thank you very much for listening.
I'd like to now invite Mr. Shailendra Prasad, the head of e-commerce and corporate affairs, to deliver his address. Ladies and gentlemen, Shailen is a well-known figure now, obviously in media, but a very strong supporter behind Vodafone ATH Foundation. Thank you, Shailen.
Thank you very much, Neil. The chairman of the Vodafone ATH Foundation, Mr. Lee, Ms. Deborah Weiss, Dr. Tukana, and representative from the Fiji Police Force. Ladies and gentlemen, again, it's a pleasure to be here. I was part of the very first FDC forum held last year. Just like to echo the sentiment of our chairman of the foundation, that doing business just for profit may be motive of some organizations, but for Vodafone Foundation, we do business not only for profit, but to make sure we make a real difference in people's lives. It's some 12 years now, I think, that the Vodafone ATH Foundation came into being. And it started when we had a natural disaster, a major flooding in Lambasa, and the whole family was swept away in the flood except a child. And we started the foundation and supported that child, and the child is doing some professional, qualified, gone through the university and doing some professional work in some organization today. So we, as an organization, we have a heart. We really want to belong to the people in the way we interact with the people using our technology. This morning I have been asked to speak on the topic of smart parenting in the smart age. We are a technology company, and you would all agree if there is one gadget that has made a profound impact globally in the shortest possible time in terms of a transformation is mobile phones and smartphones and the smart gadgets. We now have a highly connected world. People can communicate with anybody, anywhere in the world within seconds. These are all the positives. We can sit anywhere in the world under the tree, even have university education online, submit our assignments. We can make comments to whoever, however people dress. But for some people, these technologies may have moved faster than what people have gotten used to it, or how best to use it. And that is why as a company, we feel that it is morally responsible for us to support these forums where and provide a channel to the people, because there are a number of issues in our society that never come to the fore because people didn't have a means to report it. Take, for example, domestic violence. You know, if men were the perpetrators and the women were the victims, many a time these victims wouldn't get even a chance to go out of the house to report even to their neighbors. With the connectivity through mobile phones, these victims can now report these incidents directly from their home. And sorry, sometimes when people are put face to face and asked to repeat the ordeal, it's not easy. And therefore, mobile communication provides that veil behind which people can still hide and not show their face and share their real experiences to organizations such as police, counseling agencies, Lifeline, and all these agencies that's the NGOs that support such causes. So today, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk to you all about parenting in the smart age, and I'm bitter disappointed that being in a university campus, there aren't many students here. But one of the important things is that, as Deborah said, that there are the ways in which we communicate with today's generation is changing. So whilst they may not be physically present, they may be omnipresent on social media, and therefore I'd like to say hello to them. And as we go through these discussions, if they can make their comments and give suggestions, etc., because we'd like to engage with you in a way that we can change the very risks that you are being put to. I also like to highlight, it's always easy that we can push the blame on somebody like, Vodafone brought the network, or somebody else brought the network, therefore it's your problem. I think it's very, very important to realize that these technologies are here to stay, and it will only grow. But what is important is for us to be aware of the risks and the etiquette and the good use of these technologies in a way that makes positive effect or impact on your lives. So, give you an example. People's lives are busy. Somebody comes from work. They want to go and have a little beer or a grog in the neighborhood. What do they do when the little child cries? You put the phone in their hand and switch on a cartoon. And they are all happy because they can watch the cartoon whilst you are having, a good time with your friends next door. Then these kids grow up with the device in their hand, and when they come to the age of 15, 16, and you start telling them you can't use the phone, who is at fault? Is it the child? Or is it you, because you haven't taught them the discipline on when to use it, when to stop, how to use it, where to go, because you never supervise them. So, the point that I'm trying to make here is that even in the age of current highly connected world, smartphones, etc., the good old parenting techniques still hold very, very true. And you need to be with your children. You can't give love to your children by sending an emoji kiss or a rose on their birthday just through Viber. You need to show that affection, being with them, share the emotions, share the thoughts, so that they feel belonged, and that social, that family unit and the relationship remains intact, because then only can you, when you tell them something, they will listen to you. Otherwise, the peer pressure, the impact of social media, and what gets discussed overrides what you have to say, because you've never spent the time. And there are many kids who will rebel when you tell them things. They will say, you never were with me when I needed you. My friends were there, and therefore they are more important in my life than you are. So what do you have to say to them at that point in time? I think it's when the foundation came into being, I remember on the Fiji One television, we used to support a TV message which used to say, it's after 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are? Anybody remembers that? Maybe the time for the message has to change. It should say, it's after 10 p.m. Then the kids are asking, where are your mommy and daddy? Because they need to be with the kids. It's very, very important because, it's all too easy. Again, I say it's all too easy to pass the blame on somebody else, but we all have some responsibility. And we as a network provider, as a technology provider, we want to be part of the solution because there are a lot of issues that are being highlighted through this channel, through the M-Safe and I'm Speak Up. And I was with Ambalika when we actually coined the theme for this conference, break the barrier, speak the truth, because sometimes telling the truth is hard. And we feel that if we tell the truth, we may offend our friend or offend our families. But if you don't, then they keep going the path which is wrong, and you can see where they will end up, but you are not able to help in correcting that. Then you are really not a true friend. And I think it's very, very important that as a true friend, as a parent, or as a child to the parent, you should be able to be honest enough and tell the truth so that people can see that they are going the wrong path and improve. And I also wanted to share with you the importance of being with the kids. I wanted to speak to. In fact, I can speak to the children over the social media because we have a live stream. And when parents come and want to see what the kids are doing or what sites they're going and stuff like that, then the kids see that as entering their personal space, as interference. And later on in life, when they go wrong the path, then they try and blame the parents that they were not there for them or they never guided them. But you see there are many people who have been successful in life and with whom the parents have been strict and have given them the guidance. These people, when they speak in public forum, they always give credit to their parents for being tough on them, for being, bringing in the discipline, because what made them today what they are is because of those disciplines. Discipline doesn't mean control. Discipline means basically guiding them in a way that they actually go to the path. So whilst, it's important that in today's age, the way we parent must change slightly to suit the environment, the basic fundamentals of parenting doesn't change. And I for one strongly believe that as much as kids need freedom, the technologies are needed, because if you want to do well professionally in education, you need to use this technology, you need to know how to use these technologies. These are very, very important. But at the same time, we need, especially in the early years of development of children, that there needs to be supervised access in terms of the sites they go, what they visit, what they see, how much screen time they have, because if you spend too much time on these gadgets over the night, don't sleep well, then the next day you wake up, you can't reach your work or you can't go to school on time, you have lost less productivity. So all these then become the negative effects of how technology should not really be used. So in that sense, ladies and gentlemen, the point that I wanted to make and to the people, and especially to the younger generation, that and parents especially, that from the early days start putting in the discipline don't find the easy way of just handing over the phone in your kid's hand and say your parenting responsibility is over because the child is no longer demanding or crying and therefore he's all good and I can go and do whatever I want. I think it's important that you be there, you see what they're using the technology for, because there are numerous dangers and predators lurking on the internet, which Deborah Weiss rightly said, that they can pollute the minds and get them into habits or something that we don't want our children, like going into drug peddling or child prostitution, etc., etc. And these are issues that are coming to the fore. It's being highlighted to the police in many, many ways. Sexting or sex extortion, or sextortion as it is called. There are some topics of discussion later today. These are real issues, and we do not need to hide away and bury our heads in the sand and say these issues don't exist. We need to really break the barrier and discuss these issues, because these are real issues. You may know it, you don't want to talk about it, but these are forums we want to, the more we speak, the more people can contribute, there's greater discussion. I've seen that, even in the Ministry of Education has recently announced a social media policy. Interestingly, I just wanted to read you something. In today's world, it is quite paradoxical and contradictory that in today's highly connected world, social media savvy millennials, that is the current generation, make up the loneliest generation in America. According to a survey by YouGov, the poll of 1,254 adults aged 18 and older found that 27% of millennials have no close friends, 25% no acquaintances, and 22% or 1 in 5 have no buddies at all. This compares with only 9% of baby boomers and 15% of Generation X who reported having the same issues. Now, this is quite revealing and actually quite frightening. These people have no friends, yet on social media they have 2,000 friends whom they never know, never met. Isn't it very frightening? The people who need to be in your friends list need to be your parents, need to be your mom and dad, need to be your brothers and sisters, maybe even your neighbor, because in your time of need, they are the people who will stand up for you. So we are befriending the whole world except the very people that we need to make friends with. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to leave you with that, with those thoughts, because I think later in the day there will be a lot of talk and deliberations in this, and I'd be happy to contribute more. Thank you very much.
I always, Madam Deborah Weiss, thank you very much. I always envy Sir Lionel Yee. You know why? Because only 1.6% of Fijians belong to that age group. Only 1.6% of Fijians are over 75. Let's give them a big hand. And only 3.2% of Fijians are over 65. But we call ourselves paradise, the way the world should be. And we're living very short lives. Now, Mr. Lionel Lee alluded to a tsunami in 1953. I was lucky that I came 12 years later, 1965. But there's a tsunami in the land. It's the NCD tsunami. If, God forbid, send the next tsunami, we are in USP. you have to run up Lodala Bay Road. Yes? When a tsunami comes, you run up the road. You don't run down, you run up. I'm saying to Fiji, if God forbid send a tsunami today in USP, we have to run up Lodala Bay Road. Most of us will die from NCD before the tsunami hits us. Understand? That's what the current statistics is showing, because most of us are unfit to run up. And the two most common causes of death in Fiji is heart attack and stroke. Seriously. You'll want to claim insurance on the tsunami when you died from unfitness, when you're supposed to be running. I like the comment by Mr. Lee. There were just about 3 fatalities in 1953. More fish died. If it comes today, more Fijians will die, less fish. It's a serious problem. But I have hope. I have hope. We created the tsunami, we should solve it. Fijians created the tsunami, Fijians should solve it. NCD. And we can solve it. And today, in these few minutes, I will impress upon you your role in solving the problem. I spoke at Derek last time. And now in speaking to USP, I'm speaking to the generation that will change the NCD landscape in this country. Because your younger siblings look to you, and you will be the leaders of tomorrow. That's where the solution lies. And just a few months ago, I've heard in the TOPEX, I listened to the TOPEX presentation, I heard that in terms of technology, they did a study in the world that Fiji has got the fastest broadband in the Pacific. From 2017 to now, the speed has gone 38 times. Very fast. So in my position as NCD, talking to people, I don't reach much. If I want to reach as fast as possible and cover all Fijians, I'll go for technology in a positive way. Last week I was hearing in the radio a launch of something like you electronically or you technologically order your food. I saw it in the TV. I can order my curry through that platform. Imagine if we can order good, healthy food through that platforms. But there are only 2 solutions. As I speak to you, there's only 2 solutions I'm going for. I found out that in this country, not everybody smokes, so I'm not really worried about smoking. Not everybody drink alcohol and cover, so I'm not. Not everybody exercise, but I found all Fijians eat, irrespective of your ethnicity and religious and your economic. So if I have to attack NCD, I'll attack the eating. I'll attack your mouth. I won't stop Fijians from eating, but hopefully in the technology, as you lead, I'm saying you are the change. As I look as an NCD advisor, you are the change because your younger siblings look at you as a model, and you will be the leaders of tomorrow. That's the strategic thinking. How do you use technology in that space? This is the story for Fiji. Note it down. At Fiji, when a Fijian reaches 40, the number of deaths accelerates when we reach 40 years. That means that if Fijians are dying at 40, we must be sick at 20, because you'll get sick first before you die. You'll get sick, then you get disabled, then you'll die. That's the story. That's a true story about NCD. So if I get a heart attack today, my heart has been troubling me for the last 20 years. That's the way we think. Eh? If I get stroke today, my brain has been attacked for the last, I just don't get stroke like that. It has been developing. So that's the area, if we can keep our heart. If Fijians are dying at 40, they must be sick at 20. If they're sick at 20, their eating behavior and physical activity needs to be addressed at childhood. So I totally agree with all the three speakers. Parenting is the issue in Fiji today, electronic parenting. We are very good in producing children. We don't know how to look after them. We produce 20,000 children a year. But nurturing them is an issue. But perhaps we can look at technology to translate human parenting to technological parenting. The truth is, if we are going to change the landscape, if we are dying at 40, we must be sick at 20. If we are sick at 20, we need to change behavior in childhood, and parenting comes in. Some parts of the world call NCD as a communication disease. So we're always looking at communication for behavior change. It's very hard to change behavior, but it's very easy to create behavior, and create behavior through parenting. My point this morning is we've talked at FNU, at USP. I'm looking at tertiary students, adolescents, to be the critical people to change the landscape in this country. You are going to become parents, but as for now, younger people are looking to you as models, and you will be tomorrow's leaders. If you change your eating habit and all of that, it should go down to changing the disease in this country. NCD is a non-issue now, it's a no-brainer. The solution is the issue, and you are the solution. Use technology. Thank you.